came up against the Portland Timbers, who actually beat us. And I still remember big Clyde Best running through our defenders like an express train to win the game for Portland. But Portland always had some very good players. They had Willie Anderson, they had Clyde Charles, they had Clyde Best, I've just mentioned, John Bain. Actually, the biggest and most expensive they ever signed didn't work out. And his name was Rob Rensenbrink, the Dutchman. And he'd had a phenomenal career in Holland and Belgium and the Dutch national team. He was a left winger, but I think he had an injury which I'm not sure Portland knew about, and he lasted just a few games. So, he was a player that came in to play for Portland in 1980, and obviously with his background, I was coaching the Sounders then, and we thought, here we go, this is a top player, but he wasn't a problem. My first game as a head coach against Portland was for the Sounders. It was the morning after Mount St. Helens had blown, and we played in Portland, and the pitch was sort of semi-covered in ash because the wind was blowing south from the mountain. And I'll never forget it because, we tied 0-0, but we won in a shootout, Sounders. And I've checked, my career against the Portland Timbers. Over the 3 years in the North American Soccer League, the rivalry was very good and very strong. And I think Seattle won 6 games of the 9 games and we lost 3. So we had plenty of good trips home on the bus with a few beers from Portland. It was always fun when you come out of there with a win.
So what about some of the opponents that you faced, Alan? I love that story, by the way, about the Mount St. Helens. I think that's a great one. Anything that comes to play about any of the players that you knew, or any anecdotes about some of the old-timers that played for Portland or maybe ended up on your team eventually?
Clive Charles, who did so much for soccer. Clive originally was a youngster at West Ham United. He was a London boy. He came to play for the Timbers. He became the University of Portland head coach for many, many years. Created a fantastic youth development program, FC Portland, in Portland, and sadly died a few years ago of prostate cancer. So everybody remembers Clive. He was a wonderful man and did so much for soccer in the Portland area. But they had a lot of good players. John Bain, who actually was a midfield player from Scotland, he came to play for me at the Tacoma Stars. Dale Mitchell was a Portland player who played for me at the Vancouver Whitecaps and the Tacoma Stars. Was a very good striker. Willie Anderson had played for Aston Villa. Vic Crow was the manager for a few years, and I played against him a lot when he was the top player at Aston Villa, and I played for Wolves. I look at the roster from 1975 all the way through that North American Soccer League, which folded in '84, and you can see you look at the Whitecaps roster, you look at the Sounders roster, you look at Portland's roster from the 1975 era when they all began, every roster improved in talent every year. They had to. And it's the same in Major League Soccer now. You know, you look at the 2009 Sounders roster to where it is today and where it's come and where it's all been improvement. Same in Poland. You know, same in Vancouver. Which just tells you what a special group of teams we have in Cascadia that has been in and out, pushing the game forward all those years since 1975. I mean, it's a fantastic story.
And then, Alan, what were the back then? What was the rivalry like? And you know, I think Portland, quite honestly, has one of the more passionate sets of supporters. What was it like in those late '70s or early '80s?
Well, we played on the same site as their field is now, but it obviously was a baseball field in part in our days. We didn't complain about the awful astroturf. We just played. And I'll give you one story. In 1982, Sounders, I was the coach. We had a bad start to the season. I think we were 2 wins and 7 losses at the beginning, and we started to rock and roll, and we won in the last minute in Portland, last game of the regular season, 1982, and we won the division. We stuck from behind and won the division. And I remember the goal that we won it with. It was we had a corner kick in the very last minute of the game. The game was tied, and we were very good on set plays. And Ray Evans, who was the right back, he came to the bench for a drink of water, which was not uncommon. And then we had this corner kick, and I noticed where the Portland defenders were all going back to their goal, and I said to Ray, go and get that short corner. So Ray ran up the field from the bench. He was obviously in the lineup anyway, but he ran to get the short corner, whipped it into the near post, and in comes Mark Peterson and scored the winning goal. And that made us win the championship of the West in 1982. So that was a wonderful memory, and that was a great road trip back to Seattle after the game.
And then what were the Portland teams like back then, Alan?
Well, they were very competitive, and you know, they had good English managers with good records. Vic Crow, Don Mexton, who knew how to play. I mean, Peter Witz used to play there. He played for England as a striker. Clyde Best had played for West Ham and was from the West Indies. You know, lots of good players. Willie Anderson, as I said, played for Aston Villa. Mick Holman had played for Aston Villa. There was, you know, all you got to do is look at their roster and you'll see that there was a lot of talent. And of course, the rivalry between the three clubs was to get the best talent and then get them to play, and then you'd have a chance to beat each other, which was a big deal. You know, it's a beautiful feeling that we all have from those days where it is today. You know, we're really proud of our contribution in those days, and I don't think any of us did it because we were getting paid a fortune, but we just wanted it to work. And obviously our rewards now are, you know, Portland just become the champions. Sounders are averaging 45,000. Whitecaps probably had their most productive season since they began. And of course, with Seattle, I mean, if Seattle hadn't have done the business in 2009 by averaging about 35,000 a game, I doubt if Portland and Vancouver would have come in. But because the Sounders did a great job, they couldn't wait to come into the league. And of course, you know, for me, Cascadia, the three clubs, has really built the club, has built the league for me.
So, Alan, the old-timers that you had mentioned, how do you think they would react today? Or, you know, I don't know if you've kept, obviously you haven't kept in contact with many of them, What do you think the reaction would be from the old Timbers players about their current set and them winning the
Well,
MLS Cup?
I mean, certainly Clyde Best, he'd be a star today in Major League Soccer. Willie Anderson would be a good player in Major League Soccer today. John Bain would be a good player in Major League Soccer today. Willie Donaghy was a left back who played for Manchester City. He would be a good player in Manchester in Major League Soccer today. So I think some of the players that came to Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, and North American Soccer League some of them, and I'm not saying all of them, I'm saying some of them would be outstanding players today. Alan Hudson, for instance, would probably be the best midfield player in Major League Soccer if he was still around.
And how would they react to Portland winning? What do you think their reaction would be?
Oh, I think they'd be pleased. I think, Portland's not known as a big fashionable club. I mean, it's geographically fairly small. I don't know where it stands in terms of the population of the Portland area, but in terms of metropolitan area. But I wouldn't have thought it was as big as Seattle, or certainly not as big as LA and New York and Philadelphia and all those cities. I would have thought that Portland's probably on a par with Columbus. In terms of, they both made it to the final, so that's a great thing for the league, the two small clubs. They are small clubs. I mean, Portland's it's a little big club in many ways. But they've certainly set the sights high, and you've got to give them credit for what they've done. I mean, it's a remarkable story. I mean, halfway through the year, you wouldn't have given 5 cents for them winning the cup. When they went to LA and won 5-2, I knew something was going on.
And do you think these old time players would be proud of them winning?
Oh, absolutely proud. I mean, they should all be invited back. We all the past players and coaches, we feel quite proud and happy that we were involved in some way to get it to where it is today. To a man, everybody thinks that.
Alan, is there anything else? I think I got some good quotes there. Anything else that you want to share with me about Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, Cascadia that we can include?
No, I think the big story was when I was in Vancouver in 1978, I was player assistant coach. We built a very, very good team. Tony Waiters, who was the head coach, and I, and we were sailing along pretty smoothly. And then, sadly, we lost our big, strong central defender, John Craven, to a broken leg. And Clyde Best, who was a big, strong West Indian player, played for West Ham in England. He just took it on himself to run past all of our defenders because he had this great speed, and then Portland knocked us out in 1978 when we were thinking we had a shot to go win the cup. But that's what happens when you go to the cup final, to the playoffs. I mean, and that's why Portland had the momentum going because of their fantastic win in LA 2 games from the end of the season. So I've got really good memories of Portland, but my feeling is I watched the final. I wasn't jumping up and down in my chair cheering for Portland, but I just, from my professional experience and background, which is huge, I just thought the momentum was going for Portland, and it did. But I also think it helps the Sounders. It's a huge help to Cascadia. When Portland now go up to Vancouver, there'll be more people there. Because they'll all turn out to see the champions because they expect Vancouver to beat them like they've done in the past. And the Sounders fans, they can boo as much as they like if they want to boo the champions when they come to Central Link. But I guarantee there'll be more interest, there'll be more coverage on the television, on the radio, and maybe international coverage a little bit. But I do think it's great for the league, and I think it's great for the Cascadia that Baldwin's do so well. Next time around, it'll be Seattle, I hope.
Okay, Alan, I think I got plenty of material. I really appreciate this. Thanks again,
All right,
Alan.
John.
And I'll
Hey,
let
no problems.
I'll let you know. I saw some notes from Steve. I think we're going to include some of your quotes in the book and some of the comments from the folks that were trolling you. So really appreciate all your assistance on this.
Hey, no problems. Anytime. I mean, I know Steve said something on Twitter to me when he said, I was always supportive of him.